Hi, welcome to Mind Twist. This may not be obvious from the title, but this video is about generative AI from the perspective of a craftsperson. Little disclaimer, I don't use AI and try to avoid it, but as it's being used as an advertising buzzword and got pushed into things that didn't have it before, avoiding it is hard and the specifics of what it is and does can get messy. And this might make what I'm saying really off base, as I could be wrong and I'm not the customer for it. So for this video, I will just be talking about generative AI and when it is used for human expression, which is also messy and takes many shapes. But no matter what form expression takes place in, be it maths, literature, dance, sculpture, drawing, they're all a form of communication, and it gives us the ability to express things abstractly. This characteristic is a core pillar to the human identity and experience, and without it, you won't be able to understand the words I'm using. For example, the word apple isn't this, but represents it. And as this is an abstract representation, the limitations of the medium affects how and what information is communicated, and this makes the medium an inherent part of what's being expressed. Within these limits, the amount of abstraction and information can vary massively. As an illustration of this, a drawing of an apple could be this or even this. Neither of these are real apples, but they both represent an apple. They both contain different information about one within the medium that is a 2D digital drawing. We can change the medium and its limitations by making it a sculpture, a photograph, or even simulated. But again, none of these are actual apples, and they all contain and express different elements about what an apple could be. And as these all contain different information from each other, the differences between these pseudo-apples becomes important. Not only do they communicate something about an apple, they also contain information about that medium and how something was expressed through it. But with how complicated life is, there are trillions of factors that go into the expression's outcome. Examples of these would be the available tools, materials, techniques, biology, climate, society, and many, many more. These factors make the circumstances and decisions that get made in order for that expression to exist, imprint a rough path of information onto its existence. This path contains information about the identity of the maker, the subject, and the world they live in. And when it is birthed, it becomes a part of the world and can be observed. And if it is, it can add and affect the trillions of choices and outcomes of other people. This behavior has been happening from the start of humanity. We have always been standing on the shoulders of giants and learning the languages they use to express something. And it allows us to communicate with the past and in the present. As information gets added to over time, you become surrounded by these cultures, and potentially after being immersed in them, you might get to a point where you found something you wish to say or to hear, and when you know what it is you wish to express, hearing and saying it requires learning about how to express it, which is a byproduct of observing and playing with what to include, what to exclude, and how to include it. And I think this is the beating heart of communication. Let's say you want to communicate a raindrop, but more specifically, what you like about them. Raindrops consist of many things, and what you like will be subjective. Like, is it the feeling of it on your skin, the way it moves, the colours you're seeing, or even the way the light shines off it? Whatever it may be, being able to break down and explore your experiences allows you to put focus in the right places to effectively communicate what it meant to you in that moment. And this can involve a lot of trial and error as you're observing the different ways it can be expressed and how it makes you feel. But this trial and error becomes a mental library of paths that becomes a language linked to your own identity and experiences. From this mental library, you can pull information and express concepts either for yourself or for others. That exploration can be as deep or as shallow as you need it to be, as you might only learn the thing you like is the way the light shines off the rain and ignore the water completely. But this still requires experiencing the world by living in it and knowing yourself and others enough to be able to express that. This, unfortunately, takes time, and exploring doesn't make you money, and if you live under capitalism, which is part of the factors affecting outcomes, time is money, and it becomes expensive just to live in the world. So at this point, you might be asking, what makes generative AI different? Won't AI just be a part of that journey, but faster and cheaper than exploring what already exists? I think for some people it will be used this way. However, remember when I talked about differences being important? because it affects the information being communicated, well, generative AI has its own limitations on top of the mediums it's being used for. And just because something's cheap doesn't mean there aren't other expenses. One expense being, AI doesn't know what's real and what is not. This is because AI exists within the abstractions of human expression. This abstraction for AI can be things like the context window, the methods used for chunking information, to how it tokenizes and pairs text, to even the sources of information it's trained on, which again are forms of abstract representation that's levels of information and context will vary massively and will constantly be changing to fit the social pressures of our current society. And I might be wrong about this, but when this tool is used as a means of communication or expression, information gets lost. And this will affect what's being communicated alongside what can be learned. So if this technology is used as a way to either learn about yourself, the world, or others, it can become like a reverse Pluto's cave. For an example of this, say I wanted a picture of a painted dog. What information can I learn from this picture? As always, there are limitations due to the medium, but it can contain information like the direction of light, how strong that light source is, what's the soil like, biodiversity, geography, potential living conditions, behavioural characteristics, physical health, physical characteristics, height of the camera in respect to the subject matter, camera focal length, pixel ratios, metadata, potentially how it's been edited, and if it's online, potentially the name of the photographer alongside details of the location and possibly time. This data is needed and used by so many people today for a variety of reasons, and is used to benefit society at large. Everyone can extract the information they need from it and observe some of the paths that was taken for it to exist to learn from it. And in today's current climate, it is vital that this information can be accessed and is accessible to be learnt from. And personally, I believe generative AI erodes away at this information, not only affecting what's communicated, but if published, it also affects accessibility by competing for space with the original information. Another thing affecting what can be learned, the shallow paths this process creates that could roughly explain the outcome's existence, if followed again, will lead to different outcomes. So in my opinion, I think the outcomes of Gen AI, despite being surface level imitations, are very different to what it's referencing, and there will be consequences because of this. If you use this tool as an extension of yourself, for it to be used as your eyes to see the world, yourself, or others, who are you? What are your experiences? And what is the world you live in? The information these softwares are trained on already exists alongside the potential context for their existence. I worry if this technology does become used as an extension of most people's existence, especially online, it will flood information with disinformation and hollow expressions, and will affect everyone's relationship with the world by removing information from it. And as a bonus, the technology itself, not just its byproducts, also affects the world by being a resource-heavy thing. These compound the effects of climate change and add to the problems of the world, as more and more areas get harder to live in, and the systems and cycles we exist in get increasingly more off balance. And as this happens, we are erasing more and more about what we communicate and what we can learn about the world. And yes, other things exist that are water, labour and resource intense. But frankly, in this case, the internet already exists alongside all the resources generative AI uses. Which makes me question, why is the world insisting and investing so much on wanting the internet's drunk uncle with dementia to be such a large part of all our lives? Literally, everyone can afford to do better than generative AI because anyone who has expressed anything in the history of humanity has done, even if that expression isn't to the standard or in the medium you wish it was. Invest in yourself and the world so we can have a better tomorrow. But like I said at the start, this subject is messy, and I'm sure there will be exceptions to what I've said. And hopefully I'm wrong about all this, and I've been barking up the wrong tree. After all, this is just my opinion. But to end on a high note and practice what I preach, I will use my imagination and the skills I've learned to make a pastiche animation that is referencing things that has or does influence my voice. Is that AI? It's going for your job. It's so efficient and strong. But mine is stuck in the ground. I can't watch.
Monkey. 人間性を思い出してください。